media field. And HWPL has been emphasizing the importance of broadcasting air or publicizing the news about peace, and continuation of doing this would affect creating a culture of peace in each land. And we want to ask you how this effort of HWPL would impact in terms of the field of media, and also through this, how would this collaboration be effective when it comes to creating world peace?
I think because of my experience of working in broadcasting for 20 years, we've become kind of more of this field of what is clickbait and what will be tweeted. That's not what journalism is about. What I've been concerned about is that journalists have moved away from the core values of what they should be doing. It's become because of this divisive thing. And I see in the United States in the last 4 years, how that has unraveled our media landscape in the United States. I think it's really getting back to what the core values of journalism are and reminding people that our job is to report the facts. And what we've seen is that there are media outlets, especially fairly newer media outlets, and given the technology that there are new ones popping up all the time, that they're forgetting the core values of journalism. I think what would be really helpful is for this organization to remind people of the core values and to remind people to report the facts, not stuff that is clickbait and not stuff that can be tweeted and not stuff that will be sensationalized, because that's not conveying the true information that we need on any issue, especially peace. But also I see the importance of journalists to report on peace for a number of reasons. And I look back to the people who are consuming that information. I look at, information consumers and people who should be informed about the information that they get via social media, via television, via the print, and they're not as informed as they should be. They're not deliberately and dedicating that to be informed consumers. But I also worry about the mental health of people who are those consumers, because if we are continuously, as a medium, as a profession, broadcasting and reporting on horrific things that are happening throughout our communities, throughout our countries, throughout the world, I worry about the mental health of people, especially after the pandemic. And I feel that reporting on peace issues, reporting on, in some cases they call it the good news, the feel good news, but I feel that peace is feel good, because what we're doing is we're seeing that there are resolutions to things that have normally been resulted in conflict. I feel we can help heal a lot of things, not just making sure that we are being factual in our reporting, but also that we are demonstrating that people are doing good things in their communities, that people at the grassroots level are doing good things in their communities, volunteers that are getting out and helping spread the word about peace, about climate change, about social justice issues, that they are doing good things in the community. I think it's important for us, as a former journalist, but also somebody who will always be looking at the media, that we do our due diligence and follow the core values of journalism and make sure that we are balancing our reporting and our sharing of information so that we can see the true picture of what people are doing in their community to move things ahead, to make things right, and to keep people safe.
Thank you, Senator, so much for your response and your insight on the topic. When we think about even the media field, these days, a lot of media is more focused on some topics or conflicts that are more towards negative, because it does lead and tracks many more people rather than something peaceful or positive. Simply, some interviewers that we have interviewed before says that this kind of news of peace does not make them money. And some other express that it's like trying to smash a rock with X, simply effort in vain. However, we wonder how you see this approach of HWPL, the way that HWPL is not trying to move the decision makers, but trying to mobilize civil society and have them mobilize their own head of states in their country. And we also want to see how you think about when it comes to the situation that I've just previously mentioned, including how people are wondering how we're going to get some support for the DPCW, which includes reduction of war potential or reduction of army itself in the country, when there are many countries that are still pro in this matter. So if you could give us some insight on how you view this direction of HWPL is working towards, and also how you view some of the reactions that other interviewers have given.
I think this is a very fascinating idea and a concept and really kind of a vision of the long game. Is something that what HWPL is doing is mobilizing people and looking at the grassroots level, because yes, it's real. I think it's incredibly realistic to understand that world leaders are not going to be wanting to talk about this. They may say, yes, we need to have world peace, but they're not going to give up arms. They're not going to give up conflicts with countries. So where we have to go, where we have to put the pressure, is starting at the grassroots level, starting in communities, starting in villages, starting in small towns, of using what is in the past and what we're seeing right now. Because during the pandemic, so many of us are on our computers more, we're on our phones more. Why not use what we have right now and follow that playbook? And that's where I think HWPL really can come into play, is that we have to be realistic and know that we cannot achieve peace tomorrow. There are too many systems in the local, state, national, and world level that are too deeply entwined with weapons creations, the war, national security. But I think what we need to do, and we're seeing this in the climate change argument, is that we are getting young people to be part of this conversation. We are empowering them to be part of this conversation, and we are giving them the tools to work at the grassroots level and spread it like wildfire. That's where I think HWPL will be the most effective, and where many of us are so tired about not achieving peace. But I think we also have resilience, and we also know that it's not something that's going to take place overnight. So I think if we look at the long game, the long term, what the long-term plan is, then I think we'll be able to do that. But I think what we're going to have to do is adapt and be flexible, use the tools that we have with us at the time. The tools that we have now may not be the same tools that we have in 5 years, but that we need to be flexible and harnessing what those things provide for us to get that message of peace out, how we can achieve peace, how we need to reduce the dependence on national security and on the need for wars, the need for defense, and start focusing on ways to provide solutions for that. And I think if we can give people that language, then we'll be able to do that.
So, Senator, do you believe that world peace is possible?
So I'm typically an optimist and would like to say I think so, but I think I also join the folks that have been asked the same question, that because of the divisiveness and the inequities that so many people are trying to overcome, and the hatred that we're seeing every day, that's not something that is within my reach, is certainly as well. And I think certainly not in the United States and around the world. But I do have faith in the people that are on the ground and the people who are resilient, who are working for peace. We talk about volunteers who are giving up of their time, who are dedicating whatever free time they have to trying to reach this goal. And I think, if we give power and we give resources and support to these folks, that we can come as close to achieving world peace than we ever have before. Our position of privilege, our position of leadership, our position of status, to open the door and then step aside so that these young folks who are trying to get into the room can get into the room, that they can do the good work that they're trying to do, and that we remind ourselves that our work is not futile, is that it is creating this foundation, building a base, putting in the framing of a structure that will be longstanding and withhold time. And so I think it's important for us to remind ourselves that it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it is something that is achievable. And it is something that it is our responsibility as people who are older to make sure that we continue paving the way for those young folks who are going to finish it off.
Thank you so much, Senator. Now, this will be our last question. There might be people who are watching this who has been working for peace, but not seeing any specific results and being tired of continuing this way. And there are maybe some people who are ignored and some people who might be against it. Would you have any message to deliver to them?
It's a very good question. As somebody who has been active in social justice issues for the last 30 years, I can tell you that it does get exhausting. It does get frustrating to have to fight for something that many of us are saying should be, what we say in the United States, a no-brainer. It's like something that we know should be there. And, you know, as somebody who's been an advocate for the LGBTQ community for many, many years, you know, it's been an ongoing struggle. But I think that's kind of the nature of the people who believe that people should have access to healthy water, to clean water, should have access to healthy food, should have access to health care, should be able to get the education they want, should work in the positions and in the fields that they desire. And so I think what's important for us to remember is that if we look at social justice struggles in the United States, civil rights struggles, that we know that it takes time. We know that in order to do it right, that we have to be persistent. But it's also okay to say, I need to take a break from this and give somebody else the reins so that I can regenerate my passion and my energy. For those folks who feel frustrated by it and who feel that maybe that their work is not having an impact, please know that it is. That there are people who are watching you, who are silently watching you, who are watching what you do and what you say and the messages that you convey. And it's impacting them in ways that you have no idea yet. And so at those times when you need to take a step back for your own mental health, for your own sanity, for your own energy, so that somebody else can do that job for you for a while, you'll see the impact of your actions, of your words, of your efforts to help create peace. And that's when you'll know that your work is not done in vain, that it is having an effect on people. And so I guess my point is do what you can. Understand that frustration is part of this in terms of any social justice or civil rights issue. Frustration, disappointment, anger, sadness, it's all part of that process. However, when you see people start to have access to the things that they've been denied before, then that's when you know that your work is succeeding. Own it, but also be okay with saying, I need to step back if I'm frustrated and I'm tired. And then when you're ready to come back in again, know that there's a place for you.
Thank you, Senator, so much for your encouraging message. I hope that this message reaches to people who are somewhat paused in the work of peace and know that their effort does not go in vain, but people will remember, and also it will be effective to our young generation who will need to carry on this better society for the future. Once again, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for being with us today. Have a lovely day.